So it's lesson 8, and we were talking a bit before the break about sharing components like headers and footers, and we explored the PHP expressions include, require once, and include once. So now let's go ahead and build a simple, let's start building a simple header, and then we can incorporate a little bit later, we can incorporate a Bootstrap navigation bar. So in my project, I'm going to create a new PHP file, and I'll call it header. So maybe in here for now, we'll modify this in a little bit. Maybe we'll just put on like an H1 tag that says PHP gaming. So we'll just kind of leave it at that. We'll just put a little bit of text in our header. So now the first thing I want to do is I want to embed this header at the top of this page. So if we go to our games.php, maybe in here, well, let's see, we can use include So let's just inject the header in our body. So before all the content in the body, we want the header to appear. So we just use include, or we could use require, include once, require once. Any one of those 4 functions would work. We'll just use include. And then in single quotes, the name of the file we want to include. I'll go back to my browser. Let's refresh the page. And now you'll notice, you'll see our header. It shows up here. So that should be pretty simple. So it is working, right? The HTML content that we put in the header, this H1, it now gets, at runtime, it gets embedded right into this spot at the top of our body tag. There is one issue with it, however. When we look at the page source, the page renders okay, but our HTML formatting is kind of a mess. What's the problem? When you look at we look at the source of the page now. Firefox is indicating to me in red some of the problems. Right, we've got doc type up here, but then we've got it repeated here. Right, Colton, it's reading, in fact, all the HTML. So not only doc type, we've got opening HTML and closing. Yeah, we've got a whole, and Mike, that's right. We've got all of these duplicated tags. So we probably should remove these tags from somewhere. Right? So we've got them in the header, and we've also got them in the games page. So what do you think? There isn't necessarily a right and a wrong, but I think there's putting them in one file and not the other is going to be more efficient. So basically all of this code, the doc type, HTML, head, title, should this stuff go in the header, or should we be repeating it on all of the individual pages? Because we can't have it in both places. Okay, Mike, you put it inside the header. I do too. Can you explain why? Why do you put it inside the header? It's going to be more efficient to move this stuff in the header. How come? You can also turn on your mic if it's easier to explain that way than in the chat.
I would say it just makes it easier to, like, you have all the code for the header, including the meta information and CSS and everything, just all on one page. You don't have to have it copied and made sure it's on every single page.
Great explanation. Exactly why. So if we keep this head section in every individual page, our links to things like CSS and JavaScript, we then still have to repeat those on every page. The whole point of using a shared header is that these things are shared globally only in one spot. So if we want to change them, we just go to the header and change them. So here's the changes I'm going to make. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the JavaScript and CSS links. I'm going to move them out of the games file, and I want to put them inside my header. So now any page that uses the header automatically is connected to our CSS and our JavaScript. Okay, so I've moved the style sheet link and the JavaScript link into the header. So now I'm actually going to get rid of, on my games page, I want to remove all the code I've highlighted. So from the doc type up to and including the opening body tag, I'm going to remove all of that. So the header only hosts from doc type. So our games.php, it now just starts with the include call. So we embed the header at the top, and then we have our individual page content underneath. So this page is kind of cleaned up. Right? So that include line, that should be the first line. Everything above it from doc type down to the opening body tag, we're just going to have that stuff in the header only. Now, so let's go back. I'm going to refresh my page. It's caching me. Go here to a private window that won't cache. So now when I view the source, it's better, right? Our duplicate doc type, head, body, that stuff's all gone. There's still one little problem with the HTML. So it's better, right? We don't have all of this red stuff like we did before. So we've gotten rid of most of the duplicates. But there's a couple of other HTML tags we still need to remove. What lines should we be removing and why? You can see the line numbers here on the left. So I'd say there's 2 more lines of HTML we should remove so that we have a properly formatted document again. Can anybody see what's duplicated that we should only have one of? There's 2 tags. Colton, you got it. So which 2 lines should we be removing if you look at the line numbers? Thank you. So our end body and end HTML, we have these in our header, but they should go only at the bottom of the file. We've already got them down here. And later we're actually going to move these to a footer. Good spotting, Colton. So in the header, we're going to delete that end body and end HTML tag. So if I save that, when we look at the HTML, now the HTML is cleaned up. So this stuff is the header. And starting on line 13 is all of the content for our games page. But it renders as one complete, properly formatted HTML document now. We do have one small issue with it. Now that we've moved this stuff into the header. It's functional, but can anybody see what the problem is? If you look in the browser, we've got one little issue we should clean up with this. If you look right at the top of your browser. Right, Colton. So the title. So this part's a bit tricky, right? Because we want the title to change on each page. But now the title tag lives in the header. The title no longer lives inside the individual page. So we need a little workaround for this. So what I'm going to do here, that's exactly what we're going to do, Mike. Great suggestion. So we're going to replace the static title with PHP tags, and we're going to echo out a variable called title. Now, right now, my code editor is complaining because it doesn't know. It says it doesn't know what title is. That's okay. So there's our new title tag, as Mike's put in the chat. So our title is now going to be set dynamically on each page. Great solution, Mike. Thank you. So now I'm going to go back to my games page. And before we include the header, we need to say title equals so I'm going to set the title this way. So before I have to set the page title before I include the header, because the header is going to be expecting a variable called title. So I'm going to first give that variable a value, and then when we include the header, the browser tab is going to say PHP Gaming and Our Games. So now when I refresh, page title shows up. So now we want to add our header to our details page as well. And then we'll take this nav bar, we're going to move it into the header. So the things we did here on games, we're going to do the same thing over on our game details. So again, I'm going to take out the first 8 lines of code, taking out the doc type, up to and including the opening body tag. Again, I'm going to set the title. This time I'm going to change it to say game details. And then I can include the header. So this is going to go at the top of game details. Yes, that's true, Mike. I guess that would be more efficient. Sorry, I'm going to change that. That's a good idea. I'm going to cut that out so it just says game details. And my header, yeah, that part should be static. It will always say PHP Gaming with then a vertical line, and then we'll just print the individual page title beside it. That looks better. So here I'll just have our title say Our Games. So it'll just get added on. Great suggestion. So on Games, the title says Our Games. On Game Details, the title says Game Details. And then header, we're going to prefix that with PHP Gaming. Let's see how this works. So it says PHP Gaming, Our Games. And now when I go to add a new game, my header is embedded. But this time the page title says Game Details. And again, when I view the source, it's a complete HTML page, no duplication of tags. So now we're going to take this navigation bar that we have on game details. We get this blue bar. We want to move that into the header so that it appears on all our pages, and we'll get rid of this H1 tag. We're not going to need it because our nav bar already says PHP Gaming. So we'll go to game details, and we've got this nav tag. We grabbed this from Bootstrap a little while ago, so I'm just going to contract it all. And then I'm going to copy that, grab that whole code, and I'm going to cut it. So I'm going to remove it out of game details. I'll go back to my header. We can get rid of this H1 tag. We don't need it anymore. I just put it there temporarily. So let's delete it. And then inside the body, I'm going to paste in my nav bar. If you need the whole nav bar, here it is. I'll save the header. And now if I go back and refresh, now my nav bar appears here when I go to add a game. So now we've got this shared navigation bar. As we move around, our nav bar is now shared. Now we're going to want to make some additions and changes to this. But by using this simple include, we've now got this shared component. So as we change the header, we only have to change it in one place. We don't have to repeat those changes on different pages. What I'll do, I will actually upload to GitHub right now, just in case there's anything. I know we moved some things around. I hope it wasn't too confusing, but I will upload the code right now in case you need to reference anything. Okay, so I've updated the Git repository if you need anything. So we've basically changed 3 files. We made our header, which ends with the end of the navigation. We've gotten rid of all the HTML tags at the top of our game details and included our header instead. And we also got rid of the navigation bar because we've moved the nav bar into our header. And on our games page, again, we've just replaced all the HTML from the opening body tag up with our header instead. So it's starting to sort of look like a functional site. Now, right now, if we click the PHP gaming link in our nav bar, doesn't go anywhere. Where should it go? What typically should happen when you click the site logo or site name, which is almost always found at the top left? Not by rule, but by convention. Where should this take us? So, I mean, in the Globe and Mail, and I go here. So I got this logo at the top. Where's this going to take me? Thank you, Tanya. Usually it takes us back to the home page. Well, we don't have a home page right now, but I would like us to quickly build one. So if I show you, for example, what this will look like. So this is from one of my other sections. So here's our PHP site, right? We've built some pages. But when I click the name of the site, it jumps me to the home page, which kind of describes the site. So we want to build a home page that when we click PHP Gaming, it'll take us there, and it's going to tell us what our site's all about. And this page, we're going to include our header as well. So in my project, I'm going to make a new PHP file called index. We can get rid of the top portion of HTML because we want to embed the header here as well. So we'll open a set of PHP tags, set the page title. Maybe this can just say home. And we'll include our header. So super simple example. Now I can load the home page. There won't be any content except for the header right now. So I've just replaced the first 8 lines of HTML by including so just basically a blank page with the nav bar is all we've got so far. So I'm going to just add a little bit of content here. I'll add maybe a main section. Give it a class of container, which will have a bit of padding. And I'll just put on a title and a description, as well as a link to the source code. So I'll just put on a description of what we're doing, what the technology is. And I will link to my Git repository. Just put GitHub. So now I've got a simple home page, describes what this site is, and includes my header. So you can put whatever content you want on the home page. You can link to your own Git repository. So if I refresh, I get a site page that looks like this. So it's just a static HTML page, but we've embedded our shared header at the top. So now I want to go back to the header and I want to enable a couple of links. As Tanya said, when we click PHP Gaming from any page, I want it to go to the home page. And then I want to add a second link that says Our Games, that no matter where we are, if we click Our Games, it'll take us back to this page. So we have a shared header. So now we can just make changes in one file to update our Nav Bar. And then we'll also want to enable this little drop-down, Bootstrap responsive drop-down as well. Let's go back to the header. So in here, we've got a link, right? It says the class of Navbar brand. It says PHP Gaming. And right now it doesn't go anywhere. It's just linking to a potential bookmark. So on line 13, I'm going to link to index.php. So that main link will take me back to the home page. That's what most users expect when they click on the site name or site logo at the top left. Now, we've got a few other links here. They should be showing up, but they aren't. Let's figure out why. So now when I'm on my games page, if I click, I go back to my home page. I'm adding a game, click PHP Gaming, takes me back home. So I'm going to make a few changes to this section because our links aren't quite showing up. So we'll change this. We'll just change this to our class will be Navbar Nav. I'll put this up on Pastebin. I'm going to take out the active here. So our first link is going to go to games.php and say Our Games. I'm going to add two more links here. They're not going to be active for now. Our second link will go to register. We'll start building that page next week. And our third one will go to login. But these two links, they won't be active. And I'm going to take out this span down here at the bottom. We don't need that. So I will put on Pastebin. Well, actually, let me check it out. So our PHP title at the top goes to the home page. We'll have a second link that says Our Games. Oh, I missed a quotation mark. Let's check it out, see how this looks. Where is our link? Okay, there's our link. Something's not quite right because our nav bar is not showing up yet. We'll figure out why. Just something to do with our classes, so I won't post it quite yet. Bear with me for just a sec, folks. See if this is our problem. Okay. We're going to redo the nav bar. That's going to be easier. I put a link up here. We're going to grab a different nav bar from Bootstrap. So in your Lesson 8 folder, here's the Bootstrap 5 nav bar link. So we'll open it up. I'll put the link in the chat as well. And I am going to scroll down to the nav section. So over here on the right, under supported content, there's a link that says nav. And I basically want this nav bar here, and then we'll make a few changes to it. So Bootstrap very nicely gives us a little copy button. So I'm just going to copy this first navigation bar. I'll just get rid of all this. It's okay. So we'll go to my header. We'll just delete the nav bar that's there and paste in this new one. And then we'll redo a few of the changes. So paste it in below the body tag in your header. So the nav should be the last thing in the header file. So now we get this gray navigation bar. So we're going to modify the links, and then we'll set our blue color back. So our first link is this one. It says Nav Bar. I'm going to put PHP Gaming back in as my title. And the href will point to our index page. So now when I click PHP Gaming, I go to home. We're going to get rid of this link and we'll redo these three links. We'll fix up the color. Our first link that for me is on line 19, I'm going to take out this active class. And this is going to point to our games.php. And it will say our games. Our third link will say register. Our fourth link will say login. And this last link that's disabled, I'm just going to get rid of it. We don't have use for that. So we've got 4 links. One that goes to index and says PHP gaming. One that goes to games and says our games. And 2 inactive links that go to register and login. We'll work with those in the next week or 2. So now I can start to navigate around. I can go to our games. I can edit. I can go back to the home page. So now our nav bar is fully functional. Register and login are dead. That's okay. And I'm just going to change the color back. I want it to be that blue color we had before. I'll upload all this in a minute. So I'm going to change the nav bar light and background. That's what these classes are, what make it gray. I want my nav bar, instead of light, I want to use nav bar dark. And for background, I'm going to use BG primary. So I'm going to change those 2 classes on the nav tag. This should restore that look that we had before. It's kind of that royal blue with white. So now we've got a working nav bar. We only have 3 pages, but we can move through the site and everything is shared because it's in one file. We can do this after the break. We'll also have to deal with the mobile responsiveness, because right now this doesn't do anything. It shows up. It looks like a mobile friendly menu, but it's not yet. Okay, I will upload. I know I made a few changes. I hope they didn't confuse anybody. Sorry if I did. I'm going to upload all of this to GitHub so you can grab the nav bar if you need it. What's lesson 8.2? Bootstrap. Shared header with nav bar. Okay, we will take a pause here. We'll come back in 10 minutes. We'll fix up our little mobile nav. We'll just need to add some JavaScript. And then we're going to use one other include on this project and then look quickly at error handling, which shouldn't be too difficult to do. Okay, we will take a 10-minute pause here, back in 10.